What's good? 1, 2. What's good? 1, 2. Mic check. What's good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. Got triggered again today, so this is going to be another live that was triggering. I got to take control of my emotions. I can't be out here getting triggered like Will Smith. I'm not going to pimp slap anybody, but I'm going to do a live. I guess that's okay. Political has an article that's got the bootlicking left, the social justice left, the left whose identity is anti-Trump left, and that includes Republicans as well. It has them all jumping around and saying all kinds of things that show me that they are the true threat to democracy. The headline from Politico says Trump likely committed felony obstruction. This is a ruling by a federal judge. He said, Trump. Oh, yeah, the headline is shocking. Trump likely committed felony obstruction. A federal judge ruled Trump more likely than not. What does that mean, Judge? More likely than not? Does that mean he did or he didn't? Is that another virtue signal to the bootlicking left? What does more likely than not mean? Is it 51%? Is it 50.5%? Is that a legal argument, sir? The backdrop of this is the J6 committee. The J6 committee is the legislative branch. They are not the judicial branch. So I don't even know why we're talking about criminal type charges. The whole point of the legislative branch to do a hearing is to enact laws. That's all they do. They don't convict anybody. They don't file criminal charges. That's the separation of powers. So, Judge, what does more likely than not mean? We're talking about a former president. I would hope that you would have more than more likely than not. That's literally what he wrote in the judgment here. So the federal judge ruled Monday that President Donald Trump more likely than not attempted to illegally obstruct Congress as a part of a criminal conspiracy when he tried to subvert what happened in 2020. I'm a guest on YouTube, so I always have to come inside. Like if I come inside your house or your crib, I'm going to abide by your rules. Whether I like them or not is irrelevant. And in this case, I do truly believe this. Joe Biden is the president. In the Game of Thrones, it doesn't matter how you got to the throne. You could have used an army. You could have done whatever you needed to do. He has the throne, and you must abide by that. As bumbling of an idiot, and how sad it is to see a senior person, their mind just disintegrate in front of your very eyes, he is the president. There's no question there. I'm not questioning that. Okay, YouTube, you got that? What this is really about is the future. And what this really is about is all the people saying that you are a threat to democracy. They're accusing other people of being a threat to democracy. They are the true threats to democracy. U.S. District Court Judge David Carter made the determination in a ruling that ordered 101 sensitive emails from Trump ally John Eastman be turned over to the House J6 Select Committee. That committee has nothing to do with criminality of anything. It's unconstitutional for them to. The only reason Congress puts together a hearing, or the House in this case, is to enact law because of what we got the information for. We're just completely bastardizing this whole separation of powers. This is like civics 101. It's not even a high level of thought. Executive branch is the president. Legislative branch, all they do is laws. Legislate. They don't do any criminal anything. Well, looks like we're bridging those gaps. The judicial branch here is getting involved, allowing the legislative branch to get all kinds of text messages and all kinds of stuff on private citizens that they have no business getting. So the legislative branch has flexed on the judicial branch, who knows if people have aspirations, or who knows who got paid off or what for these. I'm not accusing Judge Carter because I have no proof, but in general, we don't know what kind of dealings behind the scenes are going, so the legislative branch can flex and leverage the judicial. And I'm not going on blue or red team. I talked about Clarence Thomas, how I appreciated his wife, Ginny Thomas, but I don't like the conflict of interest he has with her private consulting firm, and he can have a case in front of him, and the person who has the case in front of him could be donating or using Ginny's services, basically paying them off the family, and nobody knows. I don't care about the red or blue team. I don't have time for that. But this is ridiculous here. So the judge comes on, and the judge wants to make a grandiose statement. This is a Bill Clinton appointed judge, by the way. Carter said that the plan Eastman developed was obviously illegal and that Trump knew it at the time. Based on what? He says, based on the evidence, the court finds it more likely than not. I think it's more likely than not that Will Smith slapped the hell out of Chris Rock, but I don't know that for sure. So I have to couch my statements. Well, I don't know if it was staged or not for sure. He finds it more likely than not. It's just couching his statement. I want to give you guys fodder who the end game right now, obviously, for this J6 committee isn't to find the truth about anything or do anything productive for the country. It's to sideline Trump. In the short term, they're concerned. Red wave midterms that could carry easily into Trump getting back in office. All this craziness with Ukraine and the pandemic and Black Lives Matter and riots. Wait until the summertime, y'all. This is the midterms. It's going to pop off like a general election. All that craziness is about Trump. And that's what this is. That's all this is. The remarkable ruling, maybe the first in history which a federal judge determined a president while in office appeared. Keyword. That's the key word. Appeared. I don't know. I can't emphasize that enough. Appeared, not definitively, not found guilty, not even charged, just appeared. That's our standard now. And I really don't care about Donald Trump. This is the principle of this situation. He appeared to commit a crime. The decision has no direct role in whether Trump will be charged criminally. No, yeah, I know it doesn't. But could increase pressure on the Justice Department and its chief attorney general. The feckless one is what I refer to him as. I've never seen a human being more, I don't want to use the word beta, more feckless and pathetic than Merrick Garland. This is the one Obama nominated for the Supreme Court. This guy he looks weaker than Bill Gates. Remember Bill Gates? I played the video. Bill Gates is rocking back and forth. Just look, this guy is even below that. I'm not saying he's not a smart person, but the guy's demeanor is just embarrassing. To conduct an aggressive investigation that could lead to such charges. So this is the legislative branch, knowing they have no judicial power, trying to put pressure on the judicial branch to give fodder to the DOJ. So one of y'all need to holler at Alvin Bragg. He came into office, DA New York, and Alvin Bragg said, you know what, as much as I wanted to get Trump, and I ran a little bit on getting Trump, there's nothing here, and that's a different case. But y'all need to talk to him, because he was like, if I'm going to do this on a former president, I'm going to need a little more than this. So I hope if they do go that route with the DOJ, I hope they find something more than likely. I don't see anything from following this. Thus far, Garland has promised to probe legal violations at any level, but there have been virtually no outward signs that the DOJ is investigating Trump. We wouldn't know that if they are. They wouldn't unless they announced it. So Eastman, the judge that said this more than likely, a former Professor Chapman developed the legal, the Eastman is the lawyer for Trump. I'm sorry. I'm going to get to the judge here in a second. helped develop the legal strategy Trump deployed to pressure Mike Pence. So I agree that I don't think Mike Pence had any ability at that point to stop anything. I don't think he did. But they haven't shown me that Trump did anything illegal, though. And I'm going to get to Ted Cruz here in a second. Carter's ruling, Carter is the judge that was appointed by Clinton. His ruling said our nation was founded on the peaceful transition of power, epitomized by George Washington laying down his sword to make way for democratic elections. Ignoring this history, President Trump vigorously campaigned for the vice president to single-handedly determine the results in the 2020 election. With a plan this bold, President Trump knowingly tried to subvert this fundamental principle. And my answer to that is, so what? Do you have a legal charge? Do you have a criminal charge there? I don't agree with it. I said it at the time. It's over. I wanted the Supreme Court. I'm going to get to Ted Cruz in a second. The avenue that I wanted was the Supreme Court to hear the Texas case. That's the avenue. This, from my reading, I'm not any expert, but I did dig into that. I think Pence is right. There's nothing he could do. So I disagree with some lawyers out there that say, I don't see where they're saying that. Maybe they're right. I would listen to them, but I couldn't find anything to back up what they're saying. Pence couldn't do anything at that point. What kind of sense does that even make? It makes no sense if the vice president could do that at any election. It doesn't even make logical sense. Here's my takeaway, though. No, I'm not for the whole video yet, but my takeaway in this section here. J6 committee, if it was a real committee about finding out what to do, how did J6 happen? What could we have done better? Instead of just taking people's text messages and putting Bryson Gray on a hit list. And I think Posavec was on it and all kinds of people who didn't even do anything, weren't even there. If they were for real, they would say, okay, President Trump tried to pressure Pence. What do we need to do to change the laws or the rules? I don't know technically if it's a law or a rule, to not allow that, to make it clear, because it is ambiguous. I will say that, to make it clearer what can or can't happen at that moment, right? That's what a real committee would do. Obviously, this is not a real committee. So this decision helps shore up a theory increasingly embraced by members of the J6 Select Committee that Trump seized on legal strategies he knew were meritless in order to subvert the transfer of power to Joe Biden. So what? Are you saying that that's illegal? Okay, charge him. That's not going to go anywhere. And if it did, go ahead and cancel Christmas, because it's over. The union is what I'm talking about. If you go ahead, charge Trump on this nonsense and convict him and say he can't run again, go ahead and cancel the union, cancel Christmas, cancel the 4th of July, because it's over. So let's stop playing these games. By this ruling, Carter agreed that 10 of the emails should be remain shielded. So he's just talking about the emails here. These are emails that the J6 committee, they're digging into everybody's text messages and emails, and tracking. And some companies are just giving them information without even saying, no, you need a subpoena. Here's Carter. Carter, who sits in Los Angeles, hell on earth, Los Angeles, Democratic hellhole, Los Angeles, the city that everyone's fleeing from, Los Angeles. It makes a lot of sense now. Carter, who sits in Los Angeles, the hellhole, I'm ad-libbing here, and is an appointee of President Bill, middle name corruption, Clinton. We can't, man. We're gonna be old, and our grandchildren are gonna be talking about here's a Clinton, somebody who has 6 degrees of separation to the Clintons and corruption. Acknowledged long shot arguments by Eastman that the 1887 law governing the tallying and certification of electoral votes was at odds with the Constitution. However, the judge said that did not permit Trump the right to defy the statute or to seek to persuade Pence to circumvent it. Is that illegal? Oh, it's more than likely illegal. It's more than likely. I think it might be 50.0000001% likely. So that's the nuts and bolts of that. You might see this circulating on Twitter as complete garbage. It's utter garbage, and they are the threats to our country, without question, to me. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to see the chat just yet. I got a hard out here in a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and share my next piece. Ted Cruz. So they're going after anyone who was involved here inside Ted Cruz's last-ditch battle to keep Trump in power. So they know not only do they want to get Trump, remember right after J6 how crazy things were with the squad and other people attacking Hawley and Cruz and anyone who didn't even denounce these guys. Ted Cruz, in my opinion, now he wouldn't have done this if, I don't think he would have done this. Obviously, he wouldn't have done this if the roles were reversed. If it was Biden in Trump's role and Trump in Biden's role. But I don't think there's anybody in D.C. in the country that would have done that. I wish he would. But I don't think there's anybody that would have done that. And that's the flaw of their system, is the two-party system that our founding fathers did not, in my opinion, foresee how powerful that they would be. But when the founding fathers wrote the Constitution, I think it was Madison, one of them said, we know this is not a perfect document. Y'all are going to have to update it. So I don't know what the answer is with these political parties, but we have not addressed that. They're evil. It's not really the political parties, it's the money that aligns with them. But I still say Ted Cruz actually should be commended as one of the only people who tried to avoid J6 from happening without knowing that it was going to happen. He actually was trying to avoid it. And the J6 committee and other people are trying to paint him out as some evil person. That really raises my eyebrows when people do that. Because you either don't understand what's happening, either you're ignorant, or you're malicious. There's no in between. Those are the only two options. I'm going to share a tweet here from Molly, what's her name? Molly Zhang Fast. She's a writer for The Atlantic. Writers, I almost think of them as like hip hop artists who write their own lyrics. They're like ninjas. They got so much information in their heads. They're usually very intelligent. Like if you watch Tim Pool, Libby Emmons is on there, and she's just so bright, and you can see why she's a writer, because of the way I can't write, the way that she can phrase things, and she's just captivating. A good writer. Jason Whitlock, Jamel Hill back in the day, not now, but back in the 90s, early 2000s, Jamel Hill is one of the best writers I've ever seen. But something's taken over our people. Writer for The Atlantic, Vogue. She's got to stay within this establishment. So she says about this Ted Cruz stuff I'm going to talk about, how is this okay? How are there no legal or political consequences for that? When she says, I'm going to leave the political part away out of this for right now, I think she means politically, like impeaching or removing them from office. But I don't know. So I'm going to leave that out. What is she talking about legally? How is this okay? You could say that in general, like, oh, I'm not okay with this. But how are there no legal consequences for what Ted Cruz did? He didn't break any laws. He didn't even come close, like this Judge Carter said. It's more than likely that Trump broke laws. No, it didn't even come close. There wasn't even a more than likely. Ted Cruz didn't even come close to breaking any laws. He's one of the brightest members of the Congress. He's not a populist. I don't care. Everybody doesn't have to be a populist. Ted Cruz is someone who I would say is, my goodness, what an amazing constitutional mind. We have two Supreme Court judges that embarrass themselves. I'm off on a little bit of a tangent here, but Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett embarrassed themselves with their ruling against the Navy SEALs who wanted a delay injunction on getting a religious exemption for taking this experimental drug. They voted against it along with Roberts, but we knew Roberts was trash. Trump appointed Kavanaugh and Barrett. Terrible ruling, in my opinion. So now they can go after the Navy SEALs and ignore their religious exemption. And we know, well, we don't know for sure, but in the end, when that case goes up, we think that that's going to happen, that they're going to have to acknowledge the religious exemption. So my point is, Ted Cruz would be a much better Supreme Court justice than Ketanji, Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh. He'd be way better than them. Why? Because he actually believes in the Constitution and understands it. Like Obama was a constitutional lawyer, but he was against the Constitution in many aspects. So the Ted Cruz stuff is they're trying to get at him because if you remember, Texas brought the lawsuit and then a bunch of states jumped on. If you want to know how our country is going to divide, look at that Texas lawsuit. Texas, Arizona, and all these other states jumped on to the Texas side. And this is Texas suing the 4 swing states. So you could see our country divided very clearly by that Texas lawsuit. Those are the 2 countries. It's not going to be a Mason-Dixon line. And what happened is Donald Trump went to Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz has esteemed resume. He's argued in front of the Supreme Court 9 times. His record's 5-4, won 5, lost 4. He clerked for Judge Rehnquist, William Rehnquist. He's editor, Harvard Law Review, primary editor. You know, he just a bright guy. He's the, if you want to have somebody defend the Constitution in front of the Supreme Court, you probably couldn't find a better person in our whole country other than Ted Cruz. I like Robert Barnes too. I'm not a legal expert, but I think he's good. He's argued in front of the Supreme Court as well. The guy with Viva. So Trump went to Ted Cruz and said, "Would you be willing to argue the case for me?" And Ted Cruz was like, "Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to." Remember, this is the thing that Molly Jong Fast is saying, where are the legal consequences for? For what? For arguing the case in front of the Supreme Court? The call was just one step in a collaboration that for 2 months turned the once bitter political enemies, that's Cruz and Trump. It got ugly with that. Got ugly in a personal way with Cruz and Trump. But Ted Cruz reminds me a lot of Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh loved Ted Cruz. Rush Limbaugh, in my opinion, was hurt when Donald Trump came on the scene and crushed Ted Cruz. Rush Limbaugh wanted Ted Cruz to be president, and he probably had a chance. If it weren't for Trump, he would have had a little outside chance. I think he's much more fit and equipped to be a justice. Even though I like him, I think he should be a justice, not a president. Or I just stay in the Senate. But I think he should really be a justice. So Ted Cruz was smart. He was like, let me play this game on social media. Let me get my game a little bit more like AOC. And I'm not going to beef with Trump because that's where the heart of the people are. And he's rolling with it. So when Ted Cruz had that misstep, a little bit back, I wasn't too worried about it. So Donald Trump went to him and said, "Hey, can you argue this case?" So what? They're saying Cruz went to extraordinary lengths to court Trump's base. So what? And I think it was more, he was following the will of the people. He saw where the party was going, and he saw the Mitch McConnells. Ted Cruz has a lot of years left in politics. And he saw Mitch McConnell and even younger Kevin McCarthy, that they weren't going to be the future. So Ted Cruz is like, I'm going to adjust. I'm good with that. That's the power of Trump. Trump has the energy of the people. So now everybody has to kind of navigate to where the energy is. Ted Cruz would be completely different if everybody in the country acted like it was 1980. He would be more of an establishment, younger Mitch McConnell. So I think that's a testament to Trump's legacy. So they tried to attach him to Eastman, who I just talked about in the other one. So they're trying to, by association, take down or taint Cruz. So Cruz doesn't get donations and has a hard time running, just attacking him. They wanted to take Cruz completely out. So Liz Cheney said it was a very dangerous proposal, this case, the Texas case, to the Supreme Court. The Texas case was against the swing state. So basically, they said, my understanding of the lawsuit is the Texas was saying that those states didn't follow their constitution, which has been proven to be accurate at this point. But I don't know the legal part of that, because it's really up to Pennsylvania to decide, did they follow the Pennsylvania Constitution? I don't think it's really up to Texas. But to bring that case up, which SCOTUS should have heard, is legit. I tweeted about it here. It's not a complicated thing. It took 5 minutes to look up in the Constitution. So Molly's acting like he did something wrong. Other people are as well. So let's look at this here. I'm going to go back to my tweet. So I said these people like Molly are a threat to democracy. She's either ignorant about the Constitution or has evil intent. It's right here, clear as day, in the Constitution that SCOTUS is the right place for disputes between states. Article 3, Section 2. This is talking about what the Supreme Court should hear. And I highlighted it, to controversies between two or more states. When there's a controversy between two or more states, it skips straight. It's so serious that our founding fathers, in writing this, I don't know when this was written actually, but our founding fathers, I believe, wrote this and said, you skip the process. You know how you have to usually go through the district to federal and all that to make your way to the Supreme Court. They said if two or more states have a dispute, you go straight to the Supreme Court. That's how serious it is, because that's the fracturing of our union at that moment. It's extremely serious. So instead, Molly's trying to say he should be ostracized for that. That makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. Liz Cheney says it's a dangerous proposal. It doesn't matter. It's not illegal. You can have your opinion about it dangerous, but actually Ted Cruz did more to try to appease people, like the will of the people, which completely matters. I'm actually going to show another tweet here from Ted Cruz, and I want you to show me where the lie was. This is a tweet back in December when this was all going down. A series of three tweets by Ted Cruz. I put it up in this thread here. Ted Cruz says, because of the importance of the legal issues presented, I've publicly urged SCOTUS to hear the case brought by Congressman Mike Kelly. So that's the Pennsylvania case, though. So it's the Pennsylvania case they decided, what was happening back then is nobody wanted to hear the merits of these cases. Because in my opinion, I think they thought there was merit, and they didn't want to break the country up with saying that things weren't right. So what they said was, if you brought a lawsuit too early, you didn't have standing, meaning there was no harm. So why are you giving a lawsuit? If you did the lawsuit after the election, they said there was a term called latches, meaning you waited too long. So if you did it before, it was too early. If you waited till after, it was too long. If there was people were asking like, okay, when do you want it brought? No answer to that. So they were playing games, and they never heard the Pennsylvania case. Ted Cruz says, petitioner's legal team has asked me whether I would be willing to argue the case before SCOTUS. If the court grants certiorari, I have agreed and told them that if the court takes the appeal, I will stand ready, present to oral arguments. As I said last week, this is the tweet that's really important. From Ted Cruz, he said, as I said last week, the bitter division and acrimony we see across the nation needs resolution. Where's the lie? I believe SCOTUS has a responsibility to the American people to ensure within its powers that we're following the law and following the Constitution. No lies detected. Yeah, he's biased. Everyone's biased. But no lies detected in those statements. He was looking at the bigger picture. He was one of the only ones who tried to stop it. Senator Tim Scott did too. He tried to do the delaying the election back in 2020 to make sure it was accurate. Ted Cruz did that too. So they were actually stepping up for it. Now I know Ted Cruz is playing politics too because he felt that's what the base wanted, but I still see no lies there. And what's the problem? So if J6 was real, they would say, what are we going to do if this happens again? What changes have we made to make this process quicker, the voting process quicker, the process of contesting things quicker. Now, a lot of that's on the state level, but if you're going to have a J6 committee, you've got to talk about what could have avoided J6. All they're doing is using it as a weapon. What Donald Trump did, I did not agree with him saying that I did this, I did that, I did that. And that's why he got his podcast pulled, I think, from the, forgot the Young Boys or whatever their name is, that podcast he did. Trump's call underscored the remarkable reconciliation during the 2016 presidential campaign. This is Trump and Cruz had beef. Trump called Cruz the single biggest liar I've ever dealt with in my life. He attacked Cruz's wife and father. Cruz didn't come up on stage and smack him. He's like, hey, this is politics. It's dirty. Let's move on. I respect Cruz for that. I know a lot. I think I even made some jokes about him allowing that. But now looking back at it, I respect Cruz for that. So at the end of the day, Cruz didn't do anything wrong. Trump didn't do anything wrong. There was a lot of questions at the state level with universal mail-in ballots, and that wasn't approved through the state by legislators. It was approved by a judge or something like that, and violating the Constitution. But nobody has any energy on that part. All biased. So I'm going to be out now. I just want to get that off my chest that if we're going to talk about democracy, then let's talk about the Constitution. We all know why SCOTUS didn't hear the case. FJB would not be messing things up. I don't know. Who knows? I don't want to really, I want to look at the next election, 2024. What are we going to do that's different? Because nothing Trump did was illegal. So it could happen again. Hillary's done similar things. Stacey Abrams at the state level in Georgia has done similar things, questioning things. It's not illegal. So, yeah, I got a hard out now, but thanks. Let me know in the comments. I got to be out, but I appreciate everybody stopping by. Let me know what you think. Take care.